Welcome everyone. Again, thank you for joining. And again, before we start the ceremony, again, the ceremony itself is not complicating. It is short, and it can be short and easy. And then in this ceremony, there are two options. One is, of course, for those who have already taken, is renewing, whether it's refuge vow and lay vows. And there's two different refuge and lay vows. So those who are interested to just take refuge, that is okay. But if you want to also interested taking lay vows, then also there are 5 lay vows you can take if you are interested. Or if you are not ready for all of 5, but ready for 4, 3, 2, 1, you can also take that, any of whatever you feel ready. And if you feel ready for more in the future, when you retake it, you can again do that. So basically the 5 lay vows are not killing mainly human beings, that's the main one. Not stealing, not engaging in sexual misconduct, that is with others, husband, wife, mainly that one, and minority. And then not lying, and this lying mainly lying about spiritual realizations. So even you don't have spiritual realizations, lying about your spiritual realizations. And then 5th one is not using alcohol and intoxicants. So those are the 5 lay vows. So that again will be kind of offered together with the lay vows. So if you want to take any of those lay vows, you can take. If you don't feel like, you don't have to take. So it is all. And yeah, so I think so in terms of the vows, and then in terms of the refuge vows, of course the ceremony is, I repeat the ceremony 3 times, and with each of them, I will remind you, and you repeat after me. And then at the 3rd repetitions, then I will also remind you that to feel that that you have received the whatever refuge vow, lay vow, you are ready to take it, receiving that. And for those who are renewing, I see it has been renewed. So that is the main one. And having taken refuge, then I think, the refuge booklet, I think, has been sent to you. So there is more information in that. Or you can read later. Yeah. And so having taken refuge vows, there are certain commitments that we do try to, one of them is, because now we take refuge to the Buddha, so then we don't take refuge from depth of our heart for those who are not fully enlightened. It doesn't mean that we can take temporary refuge for temporary help, just as we take refuge to doctor when we needed help. So, but in generally for that, and then having taken refuge to the Dharma, then we try not to hurt and harm others intentionally. Okay, that is the commitment that we do. Of course, sometimes unintentionally we are not enlightened, so sometimes unintentionally, even with the best intention, sometimes we hurt others. But intentionally, we try to stop harming others. Having taken refuge to the Dharma and having taken refuge to the Sangha, you don't try to be physically too close to, where it can, with anyone that can discourage you from your path, and so where it can be obstacles and discourage on your path. But of course, mentally, we have to keep everyone close because this is Bodhisattva's practice, part of path. So we need to have compassion for everyone, regardless of what they believe, regardless of what they're, whether they are harmful, helpful, all of that. And then also, those are the three things we try to avoid, and three things that we try to engage, because we are taking refuge to the Buddha. Then anything that represents Buddha, such as any image of Buddha that represents Buddha, we try to respect them as we will respect the actual Buddha, and thinking that this is not that it as treating and respecting as it is the actual Buddha. And same with Dharma, having taken refuge to the Dharma, all the Dharma scriptures, Dharma books, everything, we will respect them as it is the actual Dharma. Even though the actual Dharma we discussed this morning is the wisdom, but this scripture, the book, the text, help us to study, learn how to develop that wisdom within ourselves. So therefore, we try to be respectful of all this Dharma scriptures, texts, books, and having taken refuge to the Sangha. Then also similarly, we try to be respectful to anyone who represent the Sangha, and of course, as our practice get better, like Dom Demba, one of the great Katamba master, even when you see even a robe that colors same like the Sangha's robe, he will treat them as respectfully as, So of course for us, it might not be so easy at this point, but at least maybe we respect anyone that represents the Sangha, as it is the actual Arya Sangha, even though they might not be actual Arya Sangha, but as though, because everyone has that potential, that is how we respect, because everyone has the potential to become Arya Sangha and Buddha. So then, so those are some of the 6 kind of commitment, 3 that we try to abandon, and 3 that we try to practice, adapt. And then, if possible, having taken refuge every morning and evening, we try to go to refuge 3 times. Okay, we recite 3 times refuge prayer. Whether there is a refuge and motivation bodhicitta prayer that we recite this morning, you can do that. Or if you want to do, very simple ones, I go refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. While you recite that, you try to feel that, as we mentioned, the faith, the trust in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, as we mentioned this morning. And you try to do 3 prostrations, in the morning and evening, and to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha again. And there are many different ways of prostrating. Prostrating is a way of, traditional way of paying respect, bowing, homage, And so, of course, there's a full prostration, half prostration, or 2 hands folded and bowing down, Or sometimes if your 2 hand is too busy, one is too busy with other things, with 1 hand, you can do that. Yeah, like sometimes when we have ceremony, something, you are holding a text, you are holding a text. So you cannot do both hand folded, So one hand you are holding the text, whatever, and with other hand you can just kind of. So frustration, but of course, I don't, unless there is some situations doing at least the half frustration, that shouldn't be a problem. But of course, I know like in certain environment, maybe you might not want to do it because that might disturb someone else, because in that person who is there, maybe they might have a strong resistance to that kind of things, or who have misunderstanding of what frustration is, what of that in those situations. Then also we have to be more kind of mindful of all of this, because we don't want to disturb someone's minds. Whether they agree with us or not, that is something else they might have. So then, in those, then we can do very in our heart. Then we do frustration from our heart with our mind, So morning and evening, we can do treated frustrations. And then also, that is at least, if we can do throughout the day, that is, the more you do, then no problem. You can do 100,000 each day, no problem. We are talking everything. We are talking about minimum. Okay. And then, if possible, when we eat, one of the advice is when you eat, when you drink, remember the refuge and try to make offering to them. Whether you recite the prayers of offering or not, but at least from your heart, in your heart, you think that you are making offering to the Buddhas, Dharma, Sangha, and then you can think it as a blessing, and then you enjoy, eat it, drink it, yeah. So those are some of the I'm trying to, I might not remember everything. There are 6 of them, so yeah. In here, the general advice, I think one should rely on holy object, listen to the holy Dharma, and after correctly comprehending, follow the Dharma and practice it. So that is one. One should not let one's sense become excited. That is true. One should control the senses in the danger of creating negative karma and take as many vows one is capable of keeping. One should have a compassionate attitude towards sentient beings, which we talk about. When eating, drinking, one should make effort to offer to the rare sublime ones, so to the refuge. Should train well in refuge precepts. Every morning, evening, one should make prostration. So I think that is all it. Yeah, I guess it seems like I have covered it. So, so that is kind of general. So I spoke about a little bit about the ceremony itself, how it is, and then the vows, and then the commitments, the general advice. And then when we, of course, we try all our best, try and be mindful. What are the precepts? First studying, knowing what are the precepts, what are the commitments. And then after that, after taking that, then being more mindful as much as possible and trying to keep them. And, sometimes either we are not too mindful. Sometimes even when we are mindful, the afflictive emotion are too strong, For example, you are mindful that you are upset and you are going to say something nasty to someone because you are angry at that. And you are aware, you are mindful, but still, anyway, I'm going to say it. Do you get it? Sometimes you feel that way, It's not, you are not aware or mindful of that. You are mindful and aware of that. You are aware you are upset, angry, and you are aware what you are going to say. And at that time, you have choice whether to say it or not say it, But sometimes when our anger is so strong that overtakes, even when I have to say it, I have to make a point. I have to say it, So you say anyway something hurtful, nasty anyway, And in that moment, it's not because you are not mindful in that moment, the delusion was too strong, the anger was too strong. And we didn't have the strong practice tool to be able to control that anger and the response from that anger, So sometimes it can happen, it can happen like that. So because the delusions imprint are so strong, delusion is so strong, our practice is still very still like baby's practice, still very small, still weak, not so strong. And so sometimes it happens. So like that, sometimes we might break the vows, pollute the vow from that. And then again, when we are aware that we have broken one of those vows, precepts, so we try to do purifications, try to regret, try to make a strong resolution not to do that again, and to make more effort not to repeat that, making strong resolutions, and then going to the refuge, to the Buddha Dharma, generating Bodhicitta mind, and then engage in whatever form of virtues, maybe you might recite some mantras, you might do some prostration, you might make some offerings, you might do some meditations, whatever, as a way of purification. So try to purify as much as possible. So that is after having taken the vows. If we do break those commitments, then what to do that? Okay, so that's how we do the purifications by applying the four opening powers. So depending on our power, depending on our practice of purification, if our four opening power purification is very strong, definitely it can purify completely. But if our opening powers, the practice is not so strong, even though it might not purify completely, it will kind of make it much more less stronger, We can lessen and weaken that negative karma. And so according to level of our practice, how strong the practice, that will affect how strong purification can become. So it affects on that. But by doing, even it is a very weak purification, even though it's not so powerful, and even though it's a weak purification, still it has some positive impact in destroying the negative karma to some degree, So therefore, we should try to apply that as much as possible. So I think maybe that is all kind of maybe I wanted to talk before the ceremony itself.